Hello and welcome everybody to today's Spotlight series. Today's discussion is with Camille Clemens, Business Development Director at Cohen and Company. Cohen and Company is a leading tax planning, compliance, audit, and advisory firm and is one of Foreside's strategic partners for fund managers of all kinds. Camille, welcome to the latest Foreside Spotlight series.
Thanks, John. Pleasure to be here.
We're thrilled to have you and we're looking forward to a great conversation. So obviously the benefits of our Spotlight series is that it delivers a clearer understanding about a company that one may not get from just the website or overall blurb of a company. But it also delivers, a timely illustration within the industry. So I'm really looking forward to having you share your message with our listeners. We'll get to Cohen in a moment, but initially I always prefer to start off on a bit of an individual or personal note. Looking at your background and talking with you over the past few months, I've really been impressed with your background. You've had a number of really interesting roles in your career. I'd love to get a sense for how you started in the business and how's it going right now?
Sure. So I've been in this industry for now over 20 years, and I think my experience has been diverse. And thanks for pointing that out, because I think it's one of the values that we bring to our clients is we're helping them work through whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. So I started off as a fund accountant with Northern Trust back in the day in Chicago, and I spent the first 8 years of my career striking NAVs, really working through kind of the operations of pooled investment products. Worked my way through to the middle office operations group when they had set that up. Really learned a lot there about the importance of communication of data, validity of cash analysis, settlement of trades, and how the inner workings and communication in kind of the operations of a fund do work. And from there, I got the itch to move to the business side of things, where I was supporting the global fund services sales team with Northern. After 12 years there and a lot of really diverse experiences and a ton of really amazing people that I got to learn from, I went over to a little bit of a smaller shop, but very similar in structure. So I worked for 7 years for UMB Fund Services, very similar from a delivery standpoint, right? They worked with clients of all shapes and sizes. They were part of a larger custodial bank. And I was responsible there in my first years as really understanding who UMB was and supporting their sales team in what we called a lead generation role. That gave me visibility into a lot of things that I hadn't yet seen at Northern, really kind of managing the operations of the sales function, and then learning more about how different product wrappers fit with different strategies, and really driven by the type of investor that an investment management company was looking to secure in whatever fund product they were launching. The last 5 years at UMB, I spent covering the New York market, so selling into the investment management community, everything from mutual funds and ETFs through collective trusts, and then your typical or traditional alternatives, which now the word alternatives, I think, means a couple of different things. But to us at that time, alternatives was your hedge funds, funds of funds. We got into private equity and some real estate as well. So I really there had the opportunity to learn how our message would resonate and what was really important when an investment manager was looking to find a new service provider. So either they were newly established fund managers, or they were the most established fund managers that were looking for a change. Either they were launching a new type of product that their current administrator couldn't handle, or they were just looking for some fresh eyes on what they were doing. From there, I spent 18 months in a role with a fund administrator that focused specifically on private equity. So they were private equity venture capital. They were based in Luxembourg. So that gave me, again, another kind of angle into how the investment manager community and the investment industry work. And this time it was really helping a newer established fund administrator kind of put boots on the ground in the U.S. So leveraging all of my experience and my contacts throughout the years to really help bring them into a new market. That was very eye-opening for a lot of different reasons, but the education I got in working with kind of a European parent company and kind of being a one of one on the ground in the U.S. was really unique. And then from there, I found my way to Cohen and Company. I've been here now for 18 months, and I've known Cohen for the last decade, just having referred business back and forth to one another. And I always say that I would send my clients to Cohen because I knew that they would be well cared for, they would be responded to, and they would have the level of technical expertise to help them solve whatever problem it is they were trying to solve. So I'm really happy to be here. I love my colleagues, and I love the company and the trajectory that we're on.
That's great. That's great. And that's a great background. You've seen a lot and done a lot in your career. And, obviously with a great firm that Foreside has a wonderful relationship with. So let's start with the big picture. We'd love to hear an overview of the firm, where you are today, and some of the highlights that you'd like to share with us.
Thank you. Yeah, and the relationship we have with Foreside is really unique, I think, as well. Given the diversity of the different services that you provide your clients, it couples very well with the services that we provide to our client base. So the strength of our investment industry practice is one that I don't know is necessarily understood kind of broadly. And we talk about the work that we do in the investment industry, but I think it's important at a higher level just to talk about our firm. So we're 40 years old, right? We were established in the late 70s in Cleveland, Ohio, working with private companies. So really the manufacturing and distribution companies that were the heart of America. And from there, we developed our practice that now is two different areas of focus. So we still have a lot of clients and expertise on the private company side, but we also have developed what now equals half of our business focusing on the investment industry. From that standpoint, which is where I come, we do work with more ETF advisors than any other firm in the country. And I think that's a really unique data point because, we talk about you have the options of the biggest of the big, so the big four decisions, and then you have the more regional players. But when it comes to the regulated fund industry, we do have a ton of experience. And I think that experience with a diverse group of managers really gives us a lot of exposure to not only the different strategies that are coming out and the different trends we're seeing, but also our ability to work with diverse managers just means that we've probably seen and done it all. So many may not be familiar with Cohen, but not just on the registered investment side, but also on the growing world of alternatives, including private equity, real estate, and digital assets. So as I mentioned, if you're going through it, and we've likely seen it and can help. So to get into some of the numbers, we work with 1,800 funds, and that's broken out with 800 registered funds. So we're talking mutual funds and ETFs, anything regulated by the Investment Company Act of 1940, 500 private funds, and then we do tax-only services for an additional 500 funds. Our clients range everywhere from kind of your startups who are either launching a fund for the first time, they're breaking away from a larger investment management shop where they want to kind of go out and see what they can do on their own, to some of the most established names in the industry. And we've had the fortune of growing with our clients, many of whom did kind of start in that startup phase. And then we also work with several of the series trusts that are out in the marketplace. From a quality standpoint, one of the things that we hold nearest and dearest to our heart is we are one of 12 firms to be inspected on an annual basis by the PCAOB. And what that means is typically if you're looking at a big four or some of the other larger firms, they're focusing specifically in the public companies segment of your business. For us, those are all mutual funds and ETFs. So we really run a tight ship, if you will, when it comes to quality and control, because that is what our business is founded on. We, as a firm, I mentioned, the number of funds that we work with, but we also work across industries. So we're organized in a couple of different ways, but, we call ourselves One Cohen. We're 10 offices in 7 different states. We start as far east as New York and Baltimore, and then as far west as Chicago and Milwaukee. And we call ourselves One Cohen because we have been a mobile unit from day one. Whether we're in the field with our laptops in a client's office, or we're working in the backseat of a cab, we do operate very closely with a tight-knit team. The way that we're organized, though, is the registered fund vertical is one area of focus where we've got some pretty concentrated understanding of the investment company rules and everything that governs that. We have an alternative investments vertical that focuses on hedge funds and commodity pools and funds of funds and your more traditional alternative investment products. We've then branched out as our clients have found additional need for focus in specific areas in private equity, venture capital. We have a dedicated vertical to real estate and construction. We do have a large multinational group as well as the private company services that we mentioned. So I think our offering is very diverse in the marketplace, and when we get in the door, our message really resonates with someone who can appreciate where we're coming from and the diverse experience we bring to the table.
That's great. Yeah, it sounds like a really good footprint, and one of those firms that has a lot more strength in terms of what it's done and the number of clients that they have. And that really resonates with Foreside because we tend to view the world the same way. Appreciate that overview. That's really helpful. Well, one of the things that obviously is on everybody's mind is the situation with COVID. Would love to hear how Cohen was able to deal with and adapt to COVID given the complexities of the last 12 months or so.
Well, while it wasn't fun, this kind of way of operating is totally in our DNA. As I mentioned, we're commonly finding ourselves on site doing the field work that needs to be done as far as the audits are concerned. But the other thing that I will couple with that is education has always been so important to us. Not only educating our people, which we hold ourselves to pretty rigorous standards as it with regards to continuing education, but also to our clients and the boards of directors with whom we interact and the service provider community. So I know that Cohen and Foreside have done a couple of mini sessions, if you will, and some things that we're seeing from a trend standpoint in the marketplace. But I would say, our ability to be flexible as well as our importance of education, I think that coupled together really nicely. This wasn't a normal year. We held countless, probably 30 or 40 webinars at this point on a broad range of topics that just were topical. So something would happen with the PPP situation. The next day or week, we would have something to talk about it. All the way through the kind of more expected, maybe is the word, kind of the regulatory changes. So Cayman, for instance, was one example of a jurisdiction that had some pretty significant changes to their regulatory environment. And on the regulation front, we pay such close attention to this because given the breadth of our client base, we really have to proactively find ways of helping our clients understand what the changes are and how they affect their business. So our commitment to education, I think, happens throughout the year, and it really does culminate in our annual client conference that happens every fall. Last year it was digital. It was the most widely attended that we'd had in the history of the conference. And it was broad in scope because there was so much happening, but we have a way of bringing those industry experts to the table, whether they're internal or from the minds of the legal system, like the lawyers who are involved with this on the front lines in developing new products to adhere to the new regulation. And, digital assets, I think, was the most widely attended, and it was a very colorful cast of characters, not only from our internal team, but also from clients and some of the fund formation attorneys that help bring these products to market. I mentioned the AICPA and our ability to be governed by them and have that annual inspection. We also do a lot by way of talking with the governmental officials and the governing bodies. So whether it's the SEC or the IRS, we're also part of the Digital Chamber of Commerce. So we're doing a lot as it relates to kind of the formation of the future of our industry, not only on kind of the more traditional regulated fund side, but also in the growing complexities in the world of digital assets. So we're agile and we're proactive, and kind of that thought leadership combined with our flexibility really does support our diverse client model. We do a ton from a thought leadership standpoint, and we have an enormous section in on our website that's dedicated to that. And we send clients and prospects probably too much information. There's so much company these days, so that we really try to be targeted in our approach and broaden our coverage.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, let's dig in a little bit. So how would you characterize Cohen in terms of its key differentiators and how you stand out in the market?
So our clients are the center of everything we do, and our business has grown to the level that it has as a result of our ability to adapt to the growing needs and complexities of our clients and the products they manage. Our structure then is surrounded with high levels of client service. I mean, we take it to almost an obscene approach, and we take it very seriously because if your clients aren't happy, it's really challenging to run a successful business. Each of our client relationships is led by a partner that has a service team. So you have direct connection into kind of every level of the organization as you're working through whatever it is you're working through at the moment. We manage to attract top talent, and I think we attract those people who really want to be part of something bigger, want to not only grow in their professional evolution, but also in their personal evolution. And, we're in really exciting worlds right now of spaces like digital assets and ETFs and tech and life sciences and private equity, venture capital, and real estate. And I think that wide range of exposure really does help our people want to belong to this and recognize that they're not kind of in it to do one thing, but there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of things that you can do within the firm. So we tend to attract talent and then give them opportunities to keep them here. Our turnover rates have been the lowest kind of in the industry we're really proud of that statistic. Our tax team likes to say that we're a tax firm that just happens to be really good at audit, but we do have 200 tax professionals that work in, I feel like they sleep with the tax code under their pillows because they're maybe the most resourceful group of people we have. And tax is really complex. And as you're developing new products and you're trying to enter new markets, it's really important to understand from a structuring standpoint, from an evolution standpoint, really all of the things that go into it. And we've talked a lot about digital assets, but this is definitely an area where you need to have experts at your table, making sure that you're thinking about all the things that you possibly need to focus on. And then from the investment industry, from an accounting standpoint, we really do pride ourselves in being a leader here. We lead not only in the industry at the different events that happen, so the ICI and NICSA and a lot of the other industry-focused events that we're all accustomed to, but we do a lot with regards to just the continuing of education and helping clients really understand how different things that are coming out. Our voice is important in the industry, and we take it seriously in our position to help our clients just make sound decisions.
Perfect. Yeah, and we've talked about some of those industry opportunities where we both have memberships, and we can certainly collaborate on those opportunities as well. As we continue to move forward, you've got these foundation principles that you talk about. Can you just highlight each of the four puzzle pieces for the listeners?
Sure. It's interesting. So Cohen and Company is a 650 person firm that behaves as if it's like a 30-person firm. So we do a lot of like really cool things to get people excited about the work we're doing. And it's not just the stuff we're doing, but it's also the attitude. And I think we bring in the people who really that resonates with. And this is not a job, it's a career. And this is really being part of an industry that really makes everything we do better. We do that not only by bringing in great people, but also giving them environments where they can work as a team, where they can learn and grow from each other. And yes, COVID has put a little bit of a damper on that, but whenever I go into the Chicago office or I'm on a Zoom call with our team, there's a ton of collaboration that I think we may be missing the in-person stuff, but we've done a really good job of adapting to the virtual environment. So we applaud teamwork. We cultivate it because, at every level of the firm, everyone's available. So there's no real hierarchy that you have to worry about, oh, this person I can't talk. Like, no, we find that we learn the most when we learn together.
Right.
I personally am uber competitive as a former athlete. which is why I think our approach to the competitive spirit in the marketplace really does resonate with me. And then we've talked a lot about the adaptability, not only to our environment, but also to the way that we service our clients. So we have a little flip chart in each of our desks that we look at all day that has these foundational principles. And, from the top to the bottom, everyone does have these different types of kind of their makeup. They all seem to take these to heart.
That's great. Yeah, it's great to build a culture like that everybody's rowing in the same direction.
Yeah.
So you talked earlier about some of the breadth and depth of the services that you provide. Let's discuss some of those services and how you help clients today.
Sure. So we have a really strong working relationship with the service provider community. And I think the services that we offer, combined with the conversations we're having with the Foresides of the world and the lawyers and the fund administrators, they do help us keep on the forefront of all of the developments in the industry. So from an operational standpoint, we do support our clients in three main ways. One is just tax planning and compliance. So as we've said before, it's a really complex industry to operate in. So whether it be state and local taxes, things that you need to consider with regard to entering a new market, where we might be able to help leverage some of your internal resources to help you be more efficient from a tax standpoint. And then from a planning standpoint, as you continue to grow and evolve as an investment in the investment industry, we can help just kind of navigate some of those challenges because we've seen it. Again, we have a lot of experience with the diverse client base that we have that I think, that's really valuable to our clients who may be doing something for the first time. From an assurance standpoint, we certainly do audit a large number of pooled investment products, both on the regulated fund side as well as the alternative investment side. And that includes kind of the things that you read here. Some of the things that you might not necessarily understand that we do just on the surface if you're thinking traditional audit. We do have a robust employee benefit plan audit program as well as SOC readiness. We have a team dedicated to kind of that statement of operational controls and helping you, whether you're a new firm or you're getting into a new area of the market, come in and help you figure out your SOC program. And then we also do have a GIPS verification and performance exam group as well. So if you hadn't yet to do that in compliance with GIPS for one reason or another, we can come in and help you sort that through. And then kind of one other thing is the advisory part of our business. And, there's several bullets here. They do not culminate or possibly capture all of the different ways that we help our clients from a consulting standpoint. So, as I mentioned, we have experience both on the private company side as well as the investment industry side. And there's a lot of overlap and experiences that we might have in one part of the business that can be useful in the other part. So from an advisory standpoint, they're at the table at the majority of our conversations because open conversation and dialogue really does yield some really interesting case studies and help us just serve our clients with the most open of minds. So we do leverage the unique expertise of our people.
Yeah, and if you just hear the name or what you do, people certainly wouldn't understand the depth and breadth. So it's really good to see, the breadth of services that you provide here and how you can help serve clients as you go forward. So
I think it's funny too, just real quick, you think about the investment industry and people outside the industry might just yawn, but there's a ton of innovation happening right now. And I think it's maybe one of the most exciting times to be here. And you think about the history and the things that we've experienced, right, John, in our careers, it's been really diverse, but it's definitely not over. So I think it's just a really unique time. And while it may be an oxymoron for innovation in the investment industry, I think we know better.
That's right. There's always nuances to deal with for sure. So as we wind down here, I'd like to, talk about the changes that are coming up. Obviously, a firm like yours needs to always be up to date on the latest regulatory changes and what's happening here. Maybe you can highlight a few developments that you guys are focused on right now.
Sure. So as I mentioned, a great resource will be the thought leadership section of our website, and I think we'll link to that later. But just at the highest level, I mean, there's a ton happening in our international jurisdictions. And as a firm, we are a member of a global tax organization. So we have on the ground contacts in many of the jurisdictions where things are happening. And Cayman is a great example of that. So not even a year ago, the rules and regulations with regards to pooled investment products in the Cayman Islands specifically, they've done a 180. It used to be, a very broad base of new funds coming into that jurisdiction would be exempt from a lot of the requirements. Well, literally almost every single fund that's domiciled in Cayman is now required to adhere to certain regulations. And, it's been important because the investment industry has a lot of products that use that jurisdiction. So we did a pretty in-depth webinar with on-site counsel with the audit firms that sit there, as well as legal counsel to help us just kind of demystify, if you will, the changes and what they meant. We go that far in a lot of the tax changes that have happened. And if you think about some of the programs that have been enacted in this COVID world, there's a lot of question marks out there, and rules are being written while things are being implemented, and it's a moving target. Employee retention credits is another one that we've spent a lot of time on. PPP loans. The pandemic really gave us two choices. Either we wait to see what happens, or we do. And we chose to do because we rolled up our sleeves. We understood what the importance that our voice and guidance had to our clients, and we want to be there for them. So it's funny, I talked a little bit earlier about the number of webinars that we've done. We've had just an immense amount of traction as a result of that. And, the phones ring off the hook with really specific questions and kind of coming at us from all angles. So it was nice to see that the time we spent and, those late nights reading through the 12,000 pages of tax code changes and the delays and deadlines, we really did have all hands on deck, just making sure that we knew what was happening. We were leveraging each other's time and energy and really servicing our clients the way that they needed to be in such an unstable time.
Right, and that's super important, especially given the unknowns that was going on the past year or so. So just as we wrap up here, it's been a real pleasure to chat with you. If people want to get a hold of somebody over at Cohen, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. So our website is at cohencpa.com. We also have a Twitter account, which is really fun to follow. We do post a lot of the things that we do and kind of some thought leadership there. We use hashtag Cohen Crypto as one of the hashtags to follow. So our digital asset team is very, very active on Twitter, as are a lot of our digital asset clients. So that's another good place to go. And then we have a LinkedIn page, which is at Cohen and Company. And for me personally, C. Clemens at CohenCPA.com. I'm also on Twitter at Camille E. Clemens, and you can also find me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. That's super helpful. Well, it's been a real pleasure. I certainly appreciate you taking the time to speak with Foreside today. A lot of great information, and we really appreciate your time. And let's continue to partner forward, and we look forward to a long-lasting relationship.